crying alien baby dragon, approached the tired human medic. Then the reign of Isra, 9 never fell lightly. It came in sheets, acid gray and relentless, drumming against the domes and outposts of the colonists who struggled to call the stormy world home. Dr. Elias Kerr pulled the hood of his environmental cloak tighter around his head. Though the rainproof fabric had long since stiffened from use, he wasn't out in the field by choice. He was tired. So very tired. After 12 straight hours in the triage tent stitching wounds, sterilizing burns, and giving morphine injections to soldiers who had just barely made it back from the jungle's edge, the war against the native dragons, if they could even be called that, was tearing everyone apart. Elias never liked the word dragon. It was a soldier's nickname, a mix of fear and awe. But to Elias, it was a simplification. The creatures were bioluminescent, feather-scaled, and partly psionic. Some stood taller than tanks, while others, juveniles, he assumed, flitted through the treetops with wings that shimmered like broken glass. They weren't myth. They were biology. They weren't monsters. They were people's misunderstanding of a highly evolved species. But explanations didn't matter when bodies came back burned and shredded. War erased nuance. He trudged through the mud, heading back toward the bunker clinic, when he heard it, a sound he hadn't expected. Not the hiss of steam vents, not the far-off thrum of an orbital engine, not the rasping call of the dragons in the canopy. It was crying, thin, high-pitched, trembling, like a baby. Elias froze, his instincts sharpening despite his exhaustion. Every colonist knew better than to wander off when dragons might be nearby. The adults were lethal. Even the small ones had talons that could cut through ceramic armor. Yet the sound wasn't hostile. It was pitiful. And then he saw it. A small shape stumbling from the treeline. Its scales shimmered faintly in the rain, glowing pulses along its chest flickering weakly. Its wings were ragged, one torn, the other trembling like a flag in storm. A baby, a dragon hatchling. It collapsed in the mud barely 10 meters from him, its cries raw with pain. Elias swallowed hard. His first instinct was to call security, but his medical training screamed louder. He saw blood, thick and iridescent, pooling beneath its wing. Its breathing was shallow. Its chest expanded with visible effort. The creature was dying. And against every rule, every warning, every instinct for self-preservation, Elias took a step closer. Part 1, the oath that bound him. Elias had once taken an oath. Back on Earth, years ago, before wars on alien worlds were ever in his imagination. Do no harm. Preserve life. Treat the suffering. He repeated those words as he knelt in the mud beside the hatchling. Its eyes, large and reptilian, yet strangely expressive, met his. He saw terror in them, and trust, fragile as glass. The dragon's body convulsed. Its claws scraped weakly against the ground. No sudden moves, Elias whispered. His voice cracked from exhaustion, but the gentleness steadied both of them. I'm not here to hurt you. His medkit was strapped to his belt. His hands moved automatically, gloves on, scanner out, antiseptic loaded. He ignored the storm, ignored the danger, ignored the fact that if any soldier walked by, he'd be court-martialed on the spot. The scanner beeped as it mapped the dragon's vitals. Heart rate, erratic. Blood toxicity, critical. Wing membrane, torn, hemorrhaging. Elias hissed under his breath. You poor thing. The hatchling whimpered, curling weakly toward him, pressing its snout against his boot. The touch was deliberate, almost pleading. His hands didn't hesitate. He injected a stabilizer, sealed the wing wound with biofoam, then started draining the toxin from its bloodstream with a filter patch. Every step was guesswork. He had no medical database for dragon physiology, but patterns were patterns. A body struggling to live always followed rules, no matter the species. Minutes bled into an hour. The storm raged. The mud clung to his knees. At last, the hatchling's breathing steadied. Its glow returned faintly, like embers coaxed back to life. Elias sagged, his arms trembling. You're going to make me regret this, aren't you? The hatchling croaked softly, like a kitten's mew. Its head lowered in exhaustion, but its eyes never left him. Something unspoken passed between them. Part 2, the danger secret. Elias carried the hatchling back to bunker, not through the front, never the front, but through the old maintenance tunnels beneath the structure. He wrapped it in a thermal blanket. It trembled, making soft chirruping noises that sounded absurdly like gratitude. By the time he reached his quarters, he was shaking with fatigue. He sealed the door, lowered the lights, and laid the dragon on his cot. It looked impossibly small against the sheets. Small yet alien. Its glow pulsed with every breath. God help me, Elias muttered, rubbing his face. They'd execute me for this. Because the truth was simple. Anyone caught harboring a dragon would be shot for treason. The war had left no space for compassion. The creatures were labeled enemies of humanity. And yet, the little one cried again, curling against a blanket. Its sound pierced Elias's chest like a scalpel. He sat beside it, whispering, You shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing this. But he looked at his hands, scarred and calloused from months of treating wounds. Hands that had stitched human soldiers together, over and over. Hands that had buried too many of them, too. But you're still a patient, and I'm still a doctor. The hatchling's glow dimmed as it drifted into sleep. Elias leaned back in his chair, exhaustion finally dragging him under. Part 3. The Bond. Days passed. Elias treated the dragon in secret. He rationed medical supplies, smuggled nutrient gel packs, and kept the hatchling hidden whenever patrols passed. It healed slowly but surely. Its wing membrane fused with biofoam. Its strength returned, and its chirping grew brighter, almost playful. And then something else happened. The dreams. At first, Elias thought they were hallucinations from sleep deprivation. He dreamed of colors that had no names, of skies that rippled like oceans, of a great warmth that pulsed like a heartbeat across the planet. But then he realized those weren't his dreams. They were the dragon's. The hatchling was psionic. Its mind brushed against his, not invasive, but curious. It showed him fragments of its world, towering nests in crystalline trees, the way hatchlings were cradling wings like mother's arms, the songs they sang that echoed across valleys. And most of all, it showed him fear. Flashes of soldiers with guns, fire-consuming nests, the screams of its kin. Elias would wake in a sweat, the hatchling pressed against his chest, its glow flickering like a heartbeat sync to his. The bond terrified him, and yet he couldn't break it. Part 4, The Discovery. It couldn't last. One evening, as Elias returned from the clinic, mud still caked on his boots, he found Lieutenant Harper standing in his quarters, and in her arms, his hatchling. The dragon squirmed, crying weakly, but Harper held it firmly. Her face was pale, her eyes sharp. "Doctor," she said coldly, "can't explain why there's a living enemy in your bed?" Elias froze. His mouth went dry. "It's not," he swallowed. "It's not what you think. Looks like treason to me." Harper's hand tightened on her sidearm. "You've been hiding this thing for how long?" "It's a child." Elias snapped, the words spilling before he could stop them. "It was dying. I saved it." "Saved it?" Her voice dripped with disbelief. "You realize how many of our children these monsters have killed? And you." "It's not a monster." Elias stepped forward, his exhaustion burned away by fury. "It dreams, Harper. It feels. It's not the enemy. It's a victim of this war, just like us." The hatchling cried louder, reaching its claws toward Elias. The sound cracked something in Harper's expression. For a heartbeat, she hesitated. But then she shook her head, jaw tightening. "Command will want it for research. Dissection, most likely. I should." The hatchling wailed, a psychic pulse rippling through the room. Elias staggered as images flooded his mind. Nests burning, mothers screaming, the hatchling's terror magnified 100-fold. Harper gasped, clutching her head. The pulse hit her too. She looked down at the trembling creature in her arms. And for the first time, she didn't see a monster. Part 5, The Choice. Harper left without a word that night. But the next morning, Elias received orders. He was to report to Central Command immediately. The hatchling's existence had been exposed. He knew what that meant. Interrogation, court-martial, and the dragon dissected in a lab. Unless he acted. Elias held the hatchling close, its glow steady against his chest. "I can't protect you here. They'll never understand." The dragon pressed its snout to his neck, sending a wave of warmth through his mind. Images flooded him again. Forests, skies, freedom. It wasn't asking. It was showing him the way. That night, Elias smuggled himself and the hatchling out of the bunker, through tunnels, past patrols, into the storm. They ran. Part 6, The Ending. The jungle swallowed them. Rain blinded them. But the hatchling guided him, pulling at his mind with gentle certainty. And then, after hours of running, Elias saw it. A clearing. And in the clearing, dragons. Dozens of them. Adults towering like mountains, wings spanning like thunderclouds. Their eyes glowed as they turned toward him. Elias froze, heart pounding. The hatchling squirmed in his arms, then let out a cry. A pure, ringing sound that cut through the storm. The adults answered. One stepped forward, scales shimmering like a living constellation. Its gaze locked on Elias, not with hatred, but with recognition. Slowly, he lowered the hatchling to the ground. It stumbled forward, crying with joy as it collapsed against a massive dragon's talons. The adult bent low, wings sheltering the hatchling, and then looked back at Elias. In his mind, he felt it, a voice vast and ancient. "You saved our child." Elias staggered, overwhelmed by the depth of it. I only did what a doctor does." "Silence. Then, you are not our enemy. Go, human. This debt will not be forgotten." The dragons lifted their wings. The storm parted. For the first time since arriving on Isra 9, Elias saw the stars. He turned back toward the jungle, heart heavy, body weary, but spirit lighter than it had been in years. Behind him, the hatchling's cry echoed once more, not of pain this time, but life.